I welcome all those who are on the Zoom meeting. My special thanks to go to my brother, Mr. Bhuminathan, for having organized this type of seminar. Am I being audible? Yeah, I think this is all right now.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So good evening to all of you. We are on a very important mission today. And this being the third day, I have some responsibilities given by my brother, Mr. Bhuminathan. And I would like to thank all those who are being present here for this session. And the session is going to be little longer because normally a lot of subjects have been given. The technology, it will take few days rather to complete. But the idea is not to put all the details, but tell you as how you can approach such questions. What are the important things you can learn, you need to know about them under the topics. Before I enter into the subject, as usual, like any bureaucrat does, with experience and mentoring students for aspirants for this personality test, I would like to request all the people, all the aspirants in this Zoom meeting, first, you should understand that already your ability to pick up facts and your ability for what is known as a shrewd guessing and your ability to write mains examination, that is to write a detailed answer with your own reasons, with your own justifications for the answer in your own way. Now you are at the last threshold. You have to knock at the last door. When this door, if it is open, then the doors for Labasna is open. When you wanted to clear this, the most important thing that should be kept in the mind is that this is not preliminary or it is not a main examination. Kindly go through the syllabus given for personality test by the UPSC. UPSC has given very clearly this personality test is not merely just intended to test your knowledge, the number of facts that you know about a particular subject, the way in which you are going to reply them, the way in which you will answer them. Because only from your answers, they will be able to judge your personality. The personality will be judged from your answers. The way you answer them, the answer may be even no. But the no can be said without any regret. If your answer is even negative, don't worry about it. If you are having adequate details, adequate data to convince the people, the veteran sitting on the other side, you can always go ahead. That kind of freedom will be naturally given by the board. The panel members, what do they expect? Ultimately, the panel members, I tell you, all these gray-haired men or bald men like me, who face who form the board, what they expect ultimately is, will he become a person after 30, 40 years of his service like me? Though it looks little, what you call, not acceptable, but you know, everybody has their own standards. So they would like to expect this participant, the persons, the persons who are seated before them have the capacity to pick up, learn fast, and become one among them. That is the expectations of the board. So kindly understand the expectations of the board. Don't be afraid of anything. When you enter the hall, just take a deep breath for 3 times or 4 times, whatever the time permits. Take a piece of your chocolate with you. So because the last minute energy may be required, have that chocolate, wait for your timing, don't discuss with anybody, don't go on reading, do only just mental work, nothing else. Just you think about what likely questions they can ask. But all this is finished. Then when you enter, when you go, I think my seniors, my others would have already explained to you about various things that you have to do when you are performing in an interview. Again, I would like to tell you, it is all your attitude. If you don't know, you can honestly tell them. And your attitude should reveal your, what you call, love for this country, your love for service, your love for people. Basically, it's all your attitude will be revealed. Basically, they will understand that you are a person suitable for this kind of a service. Do you have that basic quality in you? That is what they will look during the personality test. Well, friends, having been spoken about the personality test, let me get fast into the subject mode, because the subject given are quite a lot, and to cover them all in an hour's time will not be physically possible. But the idea here is how you can replace those, what are the areas in which you can have a better and deeper knowledge, and what kind of questions can be likely asked by the panel member, and how you can reply them. When your reply need to be in a positive sense, what the way you can reply. Because many a time I have seen people who come to the interview board, they try to think, they're trying to coin words, because the possible questions you can always do, like your DAS. You already done nearly 300, 400 questions you would have done from your DAS. Keep them ready. There are other 60% questions will come from any subject, from the subject you studied or from the current affairs. It is not going to be directly from your editorials or from the news item or from letter to the editor. It can be anything. They can ask you any question that can put you in a discomfort. The idea is to understand whether you are getting irritated, you are getting annoyed, or you are able to manage, withstand, and come. Okay, now we will get into our subjects. The technology is today, it is all pervading. Can you think that we can be there without our smartphone for a while, or without our system? Everything is digitized today. Digital technology has taken over the world. Everybody's concern today is to ensure that there is a digital divide in this country. That digital divide should be brought down. When I talk about technology, we talk about science and technology. When we talk about technology, we talk about information technology, we talk about biotechnology, we talk about various other technologies that are in the field, because they are all today interrelated. The interconnectedness between these technologies is very good, at the same time causing a lot of concern and problem both for the administrators and for the people. Well, the first subject we must discuss is what is known as I will take subject by subject so that it will be easier for us to complete it. It may take about 5 minutes for each subject, so that you will be able to understand what you need to know. I give a disclaimer, this is not the ultimate one. What you will learn from here will be a little point further for you to answer the question. Well, the first thing is the cryptocurrency and its regulation. When you talk about cryptocurrency, when we talk about cryptocurrency, we understand there are two things. One is encryption, another is cryptography. The normal legal tender, you are all aware, when every country has a legal tender. In India, we have rupee. In US dollar, European Union, euro, every country has it. They cannot accept. If you tender some other currency, it cannot be accepted. For instance, you have a security or a bond. You cannot give the security or bond to a shop and buy things, because that is not a legal tender, though it is a legal one. So understand the legality of a document, of a bond, and also legal tender. So rupee is a legal tender in India, whereas the other one, the security or bonds, whatever be that, they are all legal, but they are not legal tenders. So understand the difference. Suppose if somebody asks a question whether what is a legal tender, if the cryptocurrency becomes a legal tender, what are the problems will come? Then the crypto means it is all encrypted. The cryptocurrencies asset, we are all aware, everybody knows about Bitcoin. It's one of the very popular cryptocurrencies in the world. And the cryptocurrencies have certain unique features. Just have an understanding of them. Number one, they are not in a physical form. Number two, they are only in a digital form. That they have been made in a digital form by using blockchain technology. So it will be very difficult to hack, or it is not possible because it is formed what is known as a digital ledger technology. Kindly understand what is this digital ledger technology and also the cryptocurrency and how blockchain technology is being used. Today, even Telangana government is using blockchain technology with regard to their what is called the digitization of land records. You can understand when the land records are digital, then nobody can tamper with it. The tampering will become, it will be a tamper proof. Nobody can tamper. That's very, very important thing. And the blockchain is today becoming pervading it. We'll go into that later. As it is the cryptocurrency. Number three, these are what is called, it is not having any geographical territory. It is cryptocurrencies are used everywhere. It has no boundary. The cryptocurrencies are limited in number. That is what they have made. To my knowledge, I learned about $640 billion worth of cryptocurrencies are available. The cryptocurrency today is, say, for example, the Bitcoin, one Bitcoin about $30,000. But all depends upon because the numbers being static. The value of the Bitcoin or the value of the cryptocurrency may go up and down. This is the way the cryptocurrencies are being used. When the cryptocurrencies are like this, what are its negative impacts? You are aware that the monetary policy or the monetary system, the circulation of currency, legal tender in a country is always managed by a central bank, like RBI of India, Reserve Bank of India. It maintains it. It knows how to increase the quantum of legal tender in circulation and also to reduce it depending upon the impact of inflation. This inflation control is an important task. So the cryptocurrency, when cryptocurrency comes in, number one, it is one of the disruptive technologies of the world. It brings down all your fiscal system, monetary system to a grinding halt. How? Because the cryptocurrency would transfer from one number to another number. So you will be having a number like 32A. I have a number like 164B. When I transfer money to you, I may not know who you are, where you are. But in a legal tender system, when I make a payment to you or payment to a dealer or a store, there it is being written down in the account or form. For particularly all our digital transactions, banking transactions are already been recorded. They are all kept in a ledger. This ledger is in the form of today digital ledger. But this digital ledger will reveal what the transaction that I have done with you or you have done with others. But in a cryptocurrency, there is no such open ledger form. It is a digital ledger. And this digital ledger technology being used is only because of the peer-to-peer learning. because it is only monitored peer to peer and there is no central institution like the central bank to manage these cryptocurrencies. That is most important thing. Number two, cryptocurrencies, they will introduce what is known as a black money in an economy. A parallel economy can be run by these people who hold cryptocurrencies. Number three, the cryptocurrencies can be easily utilized for various nefarious activities. What are they? For instance, terror funding. It can be used for human trafficking, organized crime, for payment to what is known as your cocaine and all other forbidden items, including animal goods. All those forbidden items, legally forbidden items, can be sold and by using this cryptocurrency. So the cryptocurrencies are a bane. So the cryptocurrencies will create a problem. Then we'll come to an example what is happening in India. That's the question that may arise. A question may be asked, can we allow cryptocurrency? What is the state of cryptocurrency in India? Is it legal or illegal? Is it can be used as a legal tender or not? Then as regards India is concerned, RBI has very clearly stated that it is not a legal tender. When it is not a legal tender, it also refused to accept Bitcoin because we have the problem of terror funding and black financing, black money, and also money laundering. So, in order to prevent this money laundering, black money, India has refused. But some people went to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court finally said that do consider it. Now, the status is, please kindly note down, the status is the Bitcoin, a cryptocurrency, is a legal one. It is a legal one, but not a legal tender. Legal one in the sense, it is like a security, it is like a bond, but it is not a legal tender. The legal tender status has not been given. So you understand that legal, still nobody is using it openly. We do not know who is using it. We do not know how many people have Bitcoins or any other cryptocurrencies. There are a number of them like Ethereum and so on and so forth. So the cryptocurrencies, then we come to China is concerned. They form what is known as, they refuse to accept cryptocurrency. You know the authoritarian rule in China, they refuse to accept the cryptocurrency and they have banned it. Now, what they have done is, instead, they have introduced digital yuan. You are all aware, yuan is their legal tender. So they have digitized yuan. This digital yuan can be used as a legal tender when somebody is dealing with trade or business or digital, any business transaction. Well, the same thing India is also thinking to introduce what is known as a digital currency. That instead of what you call your coin or currency notes, you will have a digital rupee. You are aware that India is making arrangements for that and a bill is already there for consideration by the parliament. This bill has been prepared as a digital currency bill. If somebody may ask you about any question, don't say no. Say yes. It is not introduced as it in the parliament, not been passed, but it is in the initial stage. So the India is also considering to combat this kind of a cryptocurrencies with digital currencies. So kindly understand the digital currency and cryptocurrency. So this, I remember one more point about El Salvador. It is a Central American country, a small country with about 90 lakh population. This country has no legal tender system. They adopt only US dollar. They no central bank. And this country's 20% of their GDP comes as a overseas remittance, particularly from US. But the country now begins to feel that they are paying excess banking charges, both to the sending bank from the US and also the receiving bank in El Salvador. So the recently what they have done is they have declared the cryptocurrency as also a legal tender in that country. We do not know what are the ramifications around it, but they have already done it. Their idea, why they have done, that's a question will arise in our everybody's mind. Why they have done? They have done for the purpose of from a kind of a financial sanction, a kind of economic sanction against them later on by any country, including USA. And the remittances will be safe and they will need not pay their, if suppose somebody sends by way of Bitcoin from US, it is accepted here as a tender, all the charges that are being paid by the individual in between, there will be a plus point for their economy. Number one, they believe that they can escape from quite a lot of international tensions, because you are aware that internationally every government has to maintain accountable for their financial transactions. And you are all about FATF. So the Financial Action Task Force was formed only to control this money laundering. So the cryptocurrencies have become important today. So I think with this cryptocurrency, I have any question that the members can ask, like why cryptocurrency cannot be accepted as a legal tender. Do you know any country which has been using as a legal tender? You can say, yes, El Salvador. Then they can say, what is the difference between legal? It is legal, but not a legal tender. What do you mean by that? And what are the disruptive technologies? That's very important thing. Well, then along with this, I will also go to what is known as the next subject. I will go from there to what is known as your encryption, because it is also allied. Most of the technical subjects are allied with one another. Unless you make them, read them in a together, you will not be able to understand them. So encryption is nothing but, as you say, you are all WhatsApp users, or Telegram users, or Signal users. So whatever this messaging app or social media intermediaries that we use, they are all encrypted from end to end, which means encryption is nothing but converting your whatever it's a data that you convey, a message or a speech or your photography, images, videos, everything is being converted into what you call a language which cannot be encoded anywhere or decrypted. It cannot be decrypted. It is being sent to the other end, where the other person can, by pressing your particular contact, he will be able to understand what you have said. In between, nobody will be able to study, or he will be able to interfere and understand what is the message or photo or video that you have sent to the other party. This is called end-to-end encryption. So encryption is nothing but your message is made into a what is called like a modem. It is being made into a language which cannot be understood by anybody. Again, it is read only at the other end where it is received. Once it is received, you read it, you will be able to understand. This is how the encryption works. This encryption in a cryptography is being done, what is known as I earlier said, digital ledger technology. But digital ledger technology, because it cannot be hacked, because every transaction is done, is also recorded everywhere. It is something like saying, I am here, but I am not here. It is there, but it is not there.
Sir, one doubt from student.
Yeah, you can kindly note down. I will provide time at the end of the session.
Yes, sure, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
So otherwise, my problem is mine. My flow may be lost. So I would like to keep it. Kindly note it down. Maybe I will complete in another half an hour's time. Then we'll have from almost about 45 minutes. We'll discuss. right? Because our session is up to 8:30. So 6:30, 7:30 or so, I'll try to end. So
Yes,
kindly
sir.
note that. Yeah, kindly bear with me, right? Sorry. You are right, but interruption creates problems. Right? Then the blockchain, how it is being used, because this is very simple thing. If you read them, it is very confusing to understand. Somebody asks you what is the blockchain technology. You can say it's a digital ledger technology. This is something like what you call, whenever a transaction takes place, that transaction is being recorded or being digitized in what is known as it is being done in a block. Just think about like a block. So there are about 5, 10, 20 transactions. A send something to B send something to C, like that. If there are some 75 transactions take place, that particular space is crowded. It is over, isn't it? So if that block is over, then it leads to another block. When that block is over, it leads to another block. It is something like a kind of a pearl of chain that we are wearing, where the string holds all the beads together in a chain, right? Similarly, all these blocks or digital blocks are kept together in such a way that we will not be able to interfere and interrupt. And do you want any? You want to ask any question, or you want to say something to me? Who is there on the other side in Kingmaker?
Sir, it is me, sir.
Oh, no, somebody wanted to, it's only a question they want to ask. I want to tell me anything because I interrupted.
Please, you just proceed, sir.
Oh, fine, okay.
We will take the questions little later, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So the blockchain technology is becoming very popular. Only thing is we don't have enough personnel who are trained. If suppose they say, why not you use blockchain in everything? Because the blockchain needs experts. You don't require an ordinary a person who just studied an engineering in computer science can do that. No, it requires quite a lot of the blockchain technology has to be understood. It's very complicated one, and it requires quite a lot of what you call your systems must have quite a lot of capacity, and more important, servers. The servers capacity must be very high. You are all aware the servers are supported by electricity. So the power backup also is required very high. So when you need to use quite a lot of electricity, lot of experts, lot of educated person, lot of servers that cannot be easily hacked, then it becomes what is known as a blockchain technology is fully safe. So you can say what are the drawbacks in not being completely, can we say overnight we want to change everything? No. First, Telangana has done it. They have done their land records digitized with the help of blockchain technology. We can also do that. Maybe all military transactions can be used this blockchain technology so that nobody can tamper with it because they are all important for the security of the country and for the territorial integrity and sovereignty of the country, isn't it? So they are required. So you understand what is this blockchain technology. Well, when we go next from blockchain technology, we'll go to 5G and 5Gi. You know what is 5G? What is this 5Gi? Sorry. 5G technology. If somebody asks you what is this 5G technology, today we have number one, we had first technology, first generation technology, a landline phone, second generation technology, where yes, smartphone, not exactly a smartphone, at least a phone wherein you can send your short messages, SMS, short messaging services, but that took quite a lot of time because that is the capacity. And the third one is really it almost what you call IoT was possible only because of this third generation integration of various technologies. With the third generation, you will be able to speak, you will be able to communicate, you will be able to share photos, images, but of course it has its own limitations. The fourth generation, that is what we have now. The fourth generation, you have the fastest communication system. Today, we are consuming about 1 gigabyte a day. An individual, approximately in India, is estimated to consume 1 gigabyte. Previously, we have never heard about gigabyte. Maybe a day will come where we'll talk only about terabytes. When the gigabytes, 1 gigabyte, 1 gigabyte, 2 gigabyte, 10 gigabyte, then what you require is the faster communication, your system. 4G has upgraded to LTE, latest technology evolution, that is called LTE. This LTE is in between 4G and 5G. When you're having this 5G, it's going to be 100, can go up to 100 times faster than your 4G. With the 4G itself, we are able to do so much of wonders today. With the 5G, you can imagine what it is going to be. We are going to have totally a digitized world. The 5G is going to be what is called a superior technology, and it will play such a vital role because when you use 5G, automatically you have so many things you can do, like your artificial intelligence, your robotics, machine language, your what is called data science or big data analysis, your computer vision. Then you have what is known as your real life experience, as if you are sitting in a stadium and watching the football or a cricket match along with others. That kind of enhanced experiences are needed if they can be possible only when you have 5G technology. When I talked about 5G technology, why India is being eyed as an important thing, because you are all aware our population. We are one of the largest consumers of internet. We are one of the largest consumers, or we are going to become. For example, WhatsApp, you are all aware, it's one of the social media subsidiaries owned by the Facebook. There are about 200 crores. Funny thing that if you consider WhatsApp as a nation, because we are all netizens, so if you consider it as a nation, as a country, it's the biggest country in the world today, with about 200 crores of subscribers in it. And 50 crores are in India. Then you can imagine why everybody is interested in India today. Because India is a potential place for development, whether it is a digital or it is a manufacturing, whether it is a vaccine, whether it is a pharma. Who is going to become number one? By default, it is going to be India. When you talk to the people, to the board, you can very confidently say this next decade, 21 to 30, that belongs to India. Though we are having setbacks in the form of COVID-19 pandemic and also some economic problems, unemployment, poverty. Yes, I do understand when we talk about billionaires, number of billionaires are increasing. We do have people who are, losing their status of marginalized community and getting into abject poverty, or what you call ultra poverty. Those who cannot afford 3 course a meal a day, even they are available. But it is our endeavor, it is our duty to see that whatever wealth we generate are being distributed to some extent to all these people so that they will have a decent livelihood, decent life. So as a measure, whenever you talk, this social responsibility cannot be forgotten. On technology front, we may go anywhere, but on a social front also, your answer must combine. Somebody may ask you the question. Somebody may ask you the question. When we are so technologically improved, what is the difficulty? What is the difficulty in improving, in alleviating the poverty? You can always say, sir, this is not a magic. ये जादू का काम नहीं है. You need to actually work out. Maybe we are not doing to our level, expected level. So there are so many problems. Maybe on a military side, we had a problem with China, so we need to upgrade our capability. Today, you have read that China has been using S-400 mechanism. This S-400 weapons, they can prevent all types of missiles that are sent from anywhere to China. So they can attack from there to the extent of nearly 500 kilometers. Then you can understand that our system also need to be equipped with S-400 systems, weapon systems from Russia. When we want to buy from Russia, America is threatening us with economic sanctions. You know, CAPTCHA, economic sanctions are being threatened. Well, what I am telling you, digressing is, when you talk about that, we have challenges on both sides. Well, coming back to our subject, that is 5G. The 5G is already, the trial has been let into India. How many of you would like to know about this? Kindly go through, understand. Most important thing, there are only, what you can count your fingers as regards, you can count with your fingers as regards the number of companies dealing with this 5G. Most important them are two Chinese companies, and most important among them, you are all aware, Huawei, or whatever you want to call it. This Huawei is today most competitive, most cheap, and they will be able to corner everywhere. Whereas in India, the trials they have given, not with these, they have not mentioned Chinese equipment, but they said we wanted to use only systems that are compatible to Indian system, or our what is called security needs are fulfilled. Only such systems we need in India. So they wanted them to go for various other companies other than these two. These two are neglected. So you can very well say, somebody may ask you, well, yeah, let me complete. So when you can very well say this being used. Whereas we can go for other companies like Ericsson. Then there are other companies from South Korea. Then you have Finland. You have number of them, but they are not as good and as big as this Huawei. So it's going to be costlier for India to do this trial and testing. This for doing the trial and testing, when we use the equipment, we come at the end of the show, we'll tell them these are the equipment that are good for India. That will be good. But the question here is, will it be cheaper? No. When you compare to Huawei, it's not going to be cheaper. You can very well say, if somebody asks, I think the government has done a mistake in not allowing the Chinese. After all, business is business. Why do you bring your your border disputes with the business? So for the technology's sake, you should have allowed Huawei. What is your stake? What is your take, or what is your opinion on it? And you can very well, you don't say that immediately, sir, China is our enemy. We had a lot of problem with them. That is all an ordinary person can give that reply, not a candidate like you. Where you need to tell them, sir, we know Huawei is a very big company, but already their reputation is very bad. In Huawei, somebody kindly keep it mute. Yeah, thank you.
Sir, you are not audible, sir.
Your voice is muted. Your voice is muted.
I think sir muted everyone.
Sir, please unmute yourself, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Sir,
yes, sir.
I instead of muting.
No, I have removed the mic now. Is it audible?
Yes, sir. It's audible, sir.
Sir,
No,
please
because
continue with mic, sir.
Oh, right. I removed that. I have removed that. No problem. So we are talking about all technologies. Good technologies are done, but not good technicians. Right. Well, now we are talking about this 5G. When say Huawei is cheaper, it is posing a threat and challenge to the security of USA. So they went to the extent of sending them out of the country. So in Canada, they also sent them out. They said, you are using our technology, you are doing your own surveillance in our country. So what is the problem? The problem is today, as I said, it is an encryption. It is very easy to put all your devices in a smartphone or in an iPad or in a computer, and it can sell you. And once you use them, what happens? You are being surveillance starts. So whatever you speak, whatever you send, without your knowledge, not sending any malware into your system, because it is already embedded in your system, sold by a Chinese agency or a Chinese company. And what will happen? You do not know. Whatever I am talking, suppose it's a Chinese system, if somebody must be eavesdropping it. So if it is a military discussion, if it is depending upon, it is a very important thing relating to our country, then can we afford to do that? We cannot afford to do that. That is why the India has refused. India not openly said, but it don't want to try the Chinese big techs with regard to the 5G. That is the most important thing we'll have to understand. So even though it is going to be costlier, another thing is that already we have purchased quite a lot of Chinese equipment. Even what I have, OnePlus, my mobile phone, right? It is also Chinese made. Chinese is easier to use, but I do not know because this whatever I speak on this might go. Unfortunately, I don't have any secrets. I'm not such an important person. So even if somebody is able to watch me, there's nothing important going to come out. But is it going to be the same with regard to if I am being a brigadier or a commander in an army where I am communicating messages? So this is what is known as a, today they're all known as a, it is being used as a bio weapon. It's known as a digital weapon, but not a bio weapon. I'm going to, it is a digital weapon. How it is going to be digital weapon? Because it is already embedded in the system. You do not know that there is nobody, do you know that a system when you bought itself, that kind of a instrument is there. It is something like you are occupying, you are buying a house. The seller or the agency which constructs puts some microphone or a video recorder, and all your activities are being watched. Will you buy that house? You will think twice, right? So is the case. You may buy a watch. How do you know that there is no such system which is not following you closely? So it is very important to see that security, safety is important. And already we have large number of such systems in our telecom industry. Even BSNL has it. And you know, there is one more thing called AMC, annual maintenance contract. And this annual maintenance contract is done by the same company, either directly or through their appointed person. These companies, you know, they can come in the name of, you know, annual maintenance. They can put a new chip inside, and what they can do damage to your security. Three things can happen in such a way. Number one, they can listen to all your conversation. They can intercept your conversation. When I mean a conversation, post, discussion, everything. And number three, they can destroy you. So these three things are very, very dangerous when we have doubt about a particular system or a particular software, right? So in order to do that, India has taken only companies in which we have faced. Slowly, all Indian companies who are using this Chinese and who are already having AMC, they have been asked to phase out slowly, come out from that. This is not for the sake of hasty decision taken by the government, but because of security purpose. Well, the next point is 5GI. What is this 5GI? 5GI is integration. 5G integration. The 5G integration is nothing but it is special to India, where we are going to be a large user of 5G maybe this year, end of next year or next year, maybe around 2025. We will have in a full-fledged way, we will be using 5G. In that time, they should be compatible with the systems we use, the existing system. That is being worked out by two IITs are working on this. IIT Madras and IIT Hyderabad, they have already done a hackathon. They identified 100 areas. This 100 areas also will be tried by these companies. They will come out. So I think the 5G, we are safe. Then go for data. Data is very, very important. What was oil during the 20th century? Data to 21st century. Oil ruled the world during the last year, but today it is a data. What are the data? Data is nothing but all your details in terms of 0 and 1. You know the algorithm. So you know in 0, 1, they are all being stored. But the problem is that all these data are safe. Because the data are very important. Because the data relating to various, for example, all data relating to India is available in the hand of a country. That may lead to what is known as a data colonization. Today, you did not go and physically capture a country to make it its colony, but simply by developing a system wherein you will be able to capture all the data, you will be able to do that. So this data colonization is one of the threats that is looming large on all the countries. That is why, then we like just see what are the data. There are three types of data available. Number one is a personal data. Number two is a sensitive data. Number three is a critical data. The personal data is like your name, address, all those details. Then sensitive data are like your bank details, your IFSC code, your transaction, your health data. You may be having a serious illness, or you would have undergone some problem. All those things are available. They are all very sensitive data. Then the critical data. Critical data, you are all aware, the critical data are relating to our safety and security of the country. The critical data may relate to your power stations, airports, your banking system. So if these data are breached, if these data are not under our control, or it is being controlled by an alien, it is controlled by outside agency, that it poses a serious threat to us. So this is the data we need to protect. So in order to ensure that data is being protected, the government of India has already introduced a bill, but it is under the consideration of the Joint Parliamentary Committee. This Joint Parliamentary Committee is discussing this data, but this data protection bill. But incidentally, you should know, but Europe is well equipped with what is known as a General Data Protection Regulation. what is called as a GDPR. This GDPR is very, very strong. It can pull up any big data for misuse of data, big data. When I mean a big data or big tech companies, I'm talking about like Google, like your Facebook, WhatsApp, YouTube, and any number of them. You can say Instagram. So all of them, they have lot of our data. So we need to carefully ensure that our data are secure and not been taken away from our country. So the data protection bill seeks, before going to that, we must know that the B.N. Krishna was a former Supreme Court judge. A committee was appointed under him, B.N. Krishna, and he has given a recommendation. Based on his recommendation, a draft was prepared. This B.N. Krishna committee has given certain recommendation. But the issue here is the data. Who is going to be the guardian for my data? If it is going to be the government is going to hold all the data, there also you will find the surveillance of the citizens will be able to take place. So we are all from out of the what you call a big tech company controlling our data. Now we'll see all our data are controlled by the government. That is also dangerous because the data privacy is very, very important. You are all aware in Puttaswamy versus Union of India case relating to Aadhaar, because you would have studied about them very well. It clearly laid out that right to privacy is a part of right to life, a dignified life, under Article 21 of the Indian Constitution. As such, the data now not only to be protected from the company, but also from the government, because as an individual, my data is important. I am a what is called a data principal, but all my data I own. You cannot take away my data without my knowledge. You should ask my permission. Otherwise, you cannot take away my data. So I am a data principal. Then they say there is a data analysis. What are the data aggregators? You have seen, Google collecting a lot of data. Facebook has tremendous amount of data. You are aware that during the US election, the data were analyzed as to what is the preference and how to orient the election trend. So the data are becoming such an important thing. So now what we require is we need a data protection agency at a national level. This is what is being contemplated, but still the bill has to be passed early so that the data is being protected here. The government has an idea of data localization. They may ask you, why do we require data localization, or what is your take on data localization? The government of India is very keen that you are not operating territories here, but all the data of people in India are stored in servers abroad. They are all stored in servers abroad, over which the government of India or India does not have any influence. So they say that all this data, personal data, your sensitive data, critical data, are to be maintained only in shore. That means within India, you keep them within India as per the regulations provided by the India. But is it will happen? Whereas the big tech companies are unwilling. They said, okay, if you want critical data to be stored, yes, you can do it, but we want parallelly store the same detail in our country. For example, most of them are operating from USA. So they said, we will operate from USA, but all the data will be available in India. You can do, both of us can have access to the data. But this is a big issue that is going on. Maybe the parliamentary committee will decide and come back. So as far as the data is concerned, you must understand what is the data and what the data bill is necessary, data protection is necessary, then what is called, there are quite a lot of data which can be, employed for various other purposes. Then there is one more thing you have to understand. Somebody may ask you, what is the non-personal data? The non-personal data is something like how many people in Tamil Nadu or in Kerala or in India are suffering from diabetes. Numbers, not saying Jawahar or it is Krishnan or Govindan. It is not like that. But it says how many people in larger numbers. Because these data are necessary for research purposes, for formulating policies and principles. Right? So in order to do that, we have what is called as a non-personal data. Non-personal data are very important. So ultimately, we know that data is becoming very important in the world. I already explained about the blockchain, the artificial intelligence. Many people fear that robot will be ruling the world with our artificial intelligence. Already in many areas we have seen, particularly in medical sector, this artificial intelligence is going to do a great job with the 5G integrated with it. Today, the entire medical system will change. Today, a doctor from London or from New York is only giving a guidance. He can see the patient, he can give the consultation, but he cannot do a surgery. When it is 5G comes in with the AI and big data analysis available, he will be able to do the surgery because there will not be any latency. So you have to explain. If the latency is not a very big technical subject, you are all aware, in a real time, a millisecond, even at a millisecond, mistake will not be there. So a doctor from London, reverse it. A doctor from Delhi can do a surgery for a person in Liverpool. That's the way it's going to bring about changes. And artificial intelligence, it gathers information, it consumes so much of data, and it analyzes with the big data in no time. It all comes to you very crystal clear. So artificial intelligence is going to rule the world very fast. And India must be prepared to have separate artificial intelligence because we have a digital technology policy. But for artificial intelligence, we need to upgrade our qualities. We need to have better system. Your education system should not merely make an engineer a bookworm. Rather, he must become very creative. You can tell every institution must become what is known as a laboratory for research. So every institution should take up some area and do a research. There is no point in writing bundles and bundles of books which are going to be of no use immediately. But all technical institutions, schools, all people in industry, they can join together. Already we have Atul Lab. Like that, many of them should come forward. And the ecosystem is so good today where a lot of funding will be available to do this. So artificial intelligence is another area where we have to think about. Next subject I will discuss about. I'll take another 5-10 minutes. Sorry. So AMR. What is this AMR? Antimicrobial resistance. This antimicrobial resistance is more prevalent in a country like India, where people become themselves a doctor. They prescribe their own medicine. They try to buy whatever is available over the counter, OTC drugs. And it is, any drug you want, it is all available today, black or white. So when you try to overuse your dosages or continue the dosages beyond doctor's prescriptions of what is called antibiotics for relieving of pain or for your inflammation, when you do it, today it is being done in India. Throughout the world, the research has been done. And only in India, there is people who are very fond of becoming a doctor and taking medicine on their own without consulting the doctor. Many a time, doctor will say, take it for 4 weeks. but one will be taking it for 4 decades. What will happen? So this excess use of AM, excess use of bacteria, ultimately what will happen is that your system will become immune to all medicines. Your system will become immune to all medicine, then the AMR may lead to what is known as a situation where people will become easily susceptible to any bacteria. Probably, perhaps you are aware about the fungus. We heard about black fungus. Next day, when you turn the papers to the page, you will find blue fungus, green fungus, yellow fungus, all the colors are appearing. So basically, it's a fungus disease. It's an opportunity disease which is waiting for an opportunity where it can enter. When this AMR gives a very good opportunity, because when you are giving quite a lot of dosages, particularly steroids into the body, to create artificial hormones to fight back the viruses or the bacteria in the body, what happens in the course? Our body becomes very weak, and if you are already taken quite a lot of antibiotics, you become susceptible for this kind of fungus disease. You understand? This is how this AMR is working. And all over the world, the medical world is very much worried. So the very much idea is that hereafter, when we take medicine, we'll have to create, and first of all, an awareness need to be created among the people. This awareness is very important. How many institutions we have in the government? There is a Bureau of, Indian Standard. There is a Bureau of Electrical Efficiency, BEE. You would have heard about it. But are they doing proper publicity to what they are already needed? For example, take our air condition, where everybody uses air condition this way or the other, in the office or in the home. It has to be, it is consuming quite a lot of energy, and it is also emitting, as you are all aware, chlorofluorocarbon, which is affecting the ozone, it is increasing the global temperature. So where we need to reduce them, even if it is, people keep it at 20 degrees centigrade. It's not correct. They have to keep it for 24 or 25. That matches your requirement. Because every degree that you reduce, according to BEE, Bureau of Electrical Standards, they have stated that you will reduce the consumption by 7 to 8%. So small things in life where not only it becomes economical for you, but it also saves the world. You are contributing for the development of what is known as a green energy. So you cannot totally go away from that. Like that, this AMR is one area where the government should be able to do it. Then as regards the space technology is concerned, you must be able to understand that India stands on a very, very strong ground. And it is now today opening what is called partnership with private countries, partnership with other countries, where today even developed countries like Israel is sending its satellites to be launched from India, because the Indian space capacity is so much. But the question here will be more important. They may ask you about what is known as a space debris. What is the space debris? How to clear them? Because in course of time, all the satellites or other rockets that have been sent, they are all broken. They become all these pieces. They are all floating in the space. Right? In course of time, this debris, like kind of the plastic that have been floating in our ocean, in our rivers, in our land, same will be there with regard to the spaces concerned. This will be a major problem later on. So already there are plans where there is a mechanism where they'll go and collect all this debris. Number two, what we like to do is, now we are sending a rocket which will return back. So there may not be any unnecessary waste. And there is the Shakti system launched by India, which can go and it can attack the waste in a ballistic manner. Then all those debris become small. They will not cause any problem. Because these debris may cause a major problem for satellites in future. Already there are so many satellites. For our GPS, we have at least have 4 types of satellites are needed to have your GPS run. If you read the GPS system, you find it's how mind-blogging. So it is the Indian GPS is also getting ready. So the space is concerned, the growth for India, India should hereafter must earn money from its space activities. It go for furthering its what you call commercial activities, either with a government agency or with private sector. There is nothing wrong in joining with the private sector or a corporate, and it can generate money. See, now you'll say the development. This money, earlier we spent money from our taxes. Now this DRD, now this ISRO or its agencies will earn money and fund our projects for poverty alleviation projects. So this is how we can think. Then what we'll have to think about this is geographical data regulation. Sorry. Previously, all your data relating to the country, like your map, all those details were kept as a confidential. This is no more confidential. When you have your satellite, they can even pinpoint to the extent of your house. They can even find out what you are having in your garden, the plant that you are having in your garden. That is the system. India has come out from this and it said no longer all these things will be secret. What they have done is it has been now will be available for the private individuals, private parties, private companies to make use of them so that they can make a product like your GPS or for any other system. So kindly go through them. If any questions being asked, we can say it is not compromising on our security, because already it is beyond our security to stop it. Even you can have your satellite to study what is happening in America and Africa. So this is we recently signed an agreement with the United States of America. So this geospatial data is now available to be exploited for making a product and making our progress. Then I would like to talk about your people given genetically modified, but meanwhile I have to talk about this biotechnology is becoming a very important emerging area. Though it cannot be like, you cannot call it mere technology. In these areas, I would like to tell you 3 things is very important. Leave alone your GM, cotton, GM modified crops, plus and minus, you are aware, you'll be able to tell. But recently, there have been what is called integration of researches being done all over India, because that is being possible because of your digitalization, because of a high use of internet. 2DG, you know the drug. 2DG, 2-deoxy and 2-D-glucose. This is a medicine. This is a kind of powder being prepared by Reddy's laboratory in Hyderabad. Dr. Reddy's laboratory, Hyderabad. It was found out by DRDO. They have their own institute called Institute for Study of Nuclear Medicine and Animal Sciences. INEAS, it is called INEAS. They have developed this. This is the kind of a syrup. So once it is being administered to a person who is suffering from this COVID-19, immediately the requirement for oxygen reduces and his system becomes all right within short period of time. So you can understand here it is being done by DRDO. So we may think that DRDO has no connection with it, but they need to integrate today. If the integration taking place, this very easily be done. Number 2, recently there has been what is called in Nagaland a lab from National Institute of Biological Sciences, a lab which is under the control of under the control of Earth Sciences. It's the control of Earth Sciences. They have gone to Nagaland. They have conducted researches on bats. Because you are all aware that bats are important, what is called as bats are the reservoirs. They carry filavirus. This filavirus, when it is bitten or it is by contact, it is being carried over to the person, and from there it becomes many diseases are being spread. So they wanted to do a search. They went for search in Nagaland, where they have done some researches of bats. You may think, what is the controversy in it? Everybody is doing it. So what they have done is, there are some tribal people in particular area, they do what is known as this hunting ceremony, bat hunting ceremony. When they are hunting the bat, they believe that they are pacifying their gods. And they also, bats are good sources of protein for them. So they eat their bats. So they wanted to study this. But unfortunately, this was not known to ICMR. So ICMR came out because Nagaland, it is very near to our border. So there was a problem when Wuhan Institute is still under scanner, whether the SARS-CoV-2 virus escaped from Wuhan Institute of Virology. When that is there, how can this be taken up? This controversy arose recently. A panel member may ask you, what is the controversy relating to Nagaland research by the reputed institution? Even if they are reputed, they must all join together and they do it. And there is all these biological researches are controlled by various agencies. These biological researches are 4 levels of labs are there. Biological BSL 1 safety level, biological safety level 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, and are very ordinary. There is no need to be a big protocol required. But 3 and 4 are very, very important. And now this 4 is only one. If they call you what is BSL 4, and do you have BSL 4 lab in India? Yes. Our National Institute of Virology, NID, is the only BSL 4 category in India, whereas there are many in US, many in China. But are they following the protocols? What they do in them is what is known as a gain of function. What is this gain of function? Please kindly read them. GOF, gain of function. The gain of function is that they take a bacteria or a virus, they put them in a different environment. Like, say, they must be able to survive in a high heat area, heat system, or very cold condition. How they mutate? Or they provide an artificial thing by which they try to mutate. The idea is to find out, in a natural situation, if this kind of virus mutates, what kind of a remedial measures we can take, how we can prepare what is known as your vaccine. This will be helpful. But there is a danger, it's always. Suppose there is an accident, or it is being used as a bioweapon, then it will become very, very difficult. Fine. Next, then I'll come to digital weapon. Recently, Burma has used this. You'll be knowing what the Myanmar has used digital weapon. Do you know? You can very well say, yes, I know, sir. What is the digital weapon? Nothing. All this, what we are saying, this firewall, your cyber security system, they have breached. What they have done, they have interfered with the communication between the protesters. So they found out where the protest is taking place. They have cloned the SIM card of, so that the leaders, whatever they communicate, they know where the protest is going to take place. Next day, they are able to crack them. Number 3, they intercepted all the messages. Number 4, they use the GPS to find out their location from where it is coming. So this is where they are called as a digital weapons. Where do they get a digital weapons? Very important. Digital weapons are coming from USA, USSR, and all other countries. Right? All Western countries, they are using them. I think there are ever so many issues. And finally, I'll end with our Indian, what you call, regulation of social media in India. That is a very important thing. Do you require? You can always say, yes, sir, we require regulation of social media in India. Because as an individual, you may not like it. Because individually, I like my freedom of my expression, freedom of expression, my freedom of speech and expression, guaranteed under Constitution 19(1)(a) is very important. I don't care. But in an interview like this, we can very well say, sir, we need to regulate. If anything goes unregulated, it may create a problem for the country. So the social media need certain regulation. But at the same time, the government needs to be very careful in enforcing them. That is most important thing. Enforcement. What we do ultimately, we enforce, it is being used for some political purpose, and they are trying to suppress the voices, free voices, particularly journalists. Because genuine journalism is very important need for a free country, for democracies of the world. So it's very important we should ensure that they are keeping themselves free. So what is the regulation that has been brought? Now they said whatever the message has been given, you should tell us who is the originator, who is the person who spread the message. Number two, stop it spreading. Number three, you also give the details about the people. If they don't give, what will happen? Perhaps Twitter is facing a problem. UP government has filed a case against Twitter. Everything is regulated under IT Act, Information Technology Act 2000. Just have some idea about this act and the recent regulations that have been brought in. Because I don't have time, so I don't want to deal them in much important things. But the important thing is that there is a provision called Section 79, Safe Harbor concept. What is this safe harbor? When a ship is in the harbor, it is safe, right? Similarly, there are three things. One is what you call a creator, a content creator. I am also a YouTuber, so I'm a content creator. Then editor, I do editing myself. Then I upload it on YouTube. When I do it and upload on YouTube, then YouTube becomes what is known as a publisher. Now the publisher, are you going to be a publisher? If you are a publisher, you should control. Whenever I say, you tell who did it. Of course, YouTube, there is no such function available because everything is visible. But you can, in a Twitter, you can do that. That is what happened in UP. So, a false message, which is against the security, which is against the public order of the country, may come in. So, that kind of a problem will be but the regulation should be properly handled. You can very well say, sir, we need to regulate. Our country is very important. Our country is multilingual, multicultural. So we will find our unity in diversity should not be lost. To protect that, we cannot come out from the technology. We should not go away from the technology, but we should harness the technology, be it in bio or be it in digital, be it in information. Everywhere we need them only for the welfare of the people. That is most important. I think this is the way you have to answer. I think I have taken nearly about an hour and a half. I do not know how far it will be useful. Many of you would have noted down your point. Now it is a time for you to ask the questions. If you already put those questions in your chat box, kindly let me know what are the doubts you have.
Sir,
Great, sir. Actually, you dealt upon the biotechnology as well. So that's great, sir. I'll post the doubts of the students, sir. One is, how is legal is different from legal tender? What is legal? Sir, differentiate legal and legal tenders.
Yes, legal, yeah. See, the most important thing is if you are purchasing a bond or a share in a share market, you buy a share. That is legal, but with that you cannot go and present it to a shop and buy medicine or any other thing because it is not a legal tender. If it's a legal tender, then you will find I promise to pay 1 rupee, 100 rupees, 2000 rupees by the finance secretary or by the RBI government. That is a guarantee given for the legal tender. So I cannot use any other thing. I cannot use because my house may be valued at 10 lakh rupees. I cannot take that and use it for transaction. That is the legal. My house document is legal, but it's not a legal tender. That is the difference.
Sir, there is a question posted yesterday also and today also. Sir, if at all the panel members ask you put down the points for regulating cryptocurrency or put down a policy for cryptocurrency, what should our approach be, sir?
So instead of encouraging cryptocurrency, we can say we can use digital currencies as done in China. Like digital yuan, you can introduce digital rupee. So that way it will be better. Because in a country like India, cryptocurrencies will be very difficult to handle. It will lead to, as I earlier said, black money, generation of black money, terror funding, and money laundering, and all for nefarious purposes, including the purchase and sale of things, narcotic drugs. So we like to say a policy needs to be worked out wherein we don't encourage them. And again, it is what do you call, it's artificially like share. Its value may go up suddenly one day. The government will be very difficult to handle. A country with a large population and even about 30-40% of the population are still, in a nascent stage where, though they are not ultra poor, still their poverty is there. To bring them up, this will become what is cryptocurrencies will become an evil in the hands of smugglers and hoarders. So that is why India should not encourage cryptocurrency, but they should bring about an alternative like digital currency. Number two, wherever digital currencies, cryptocurrencies are being used, when it is strictly banned, the transaction is banned, then we will be able to, what you call, control them. So policy and also implementation for which a system, a mechanism will go a long way in controlling cryptos.
So you mean digital legal tender instead of cryptocurrency? So, but what difference does it make, sir? We're also facing challenges in having digital banking itself. So, what can be done about this new technology?
Yes, the point is now the cryptocurrencies is very difficult because it is in a digital form. We don't know who is having it. Very difficult to find out. So again, all our tax system will go down, isn't it? So everybody begin to use the Bitcoin or Ether, whatever be that. If we use it, then the tax payment may not be. Tax payments will not come either by direct tax or indirect taxes. So a lot of economic problems will arise. But why we have made legal is that it is something like what you call like a house, like a property. You can purchase it, you can keep it, you can sell it. But you can sell it elsewhere, not in India. It is legal, you can keep it, you can hold it. Because how do we know that a person is holding in India or not? Isn't it? So anybody can holding a digital card. We don't know. Cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. So that is why it has been, where it is not possible, it has been made illegal. But where that cannot be utilized in our economy, we have made it as a non-legal tender status.
Sir, is there any alternate for internet shutdown, sir, for law devices?
Yes. Internet shutdown is one of the areas where the government has been criticized all over the world. USA, everywhere. Even as a matter of fact, as an Indian citizen, we'll also feel sorry where for a normal business transaction, the kind of a shutdown, it doesn't help your business to be conducted. I cannot transact my business. So there is absolutely, as far as now, there is no alternative for shutdown. But what we can do is selective shutdown. Or it should be restricted to certain areas, certain days, where you expect, for example, when the law has been brought to bring down Kashmir, the special status is gone, 370 is gone, and they have been made into two union territories. Then you need to shut down for a while. But keeping them for 170 days, 180 days, you will receive what you call brickbats from other countries. Because we are one of the greatest democracies of the world. When we uphold democracy, the basis of democracy is debate and discussion. The basis of democracy is debate and discussion. When you are not allowing a debate or a discussion, when you are not allowing people to talk to one another, when you are not making them silent, then it becomes very difficult. This is the only way that is possible. You cannot, have the shutdown and you can control it.
Sir, regarding the GM crops, how far we should accept the GM crops and how far we should not?
Yeah. This is very important question. The GM crops are very necessary where, unless we have utilized, it is something like the fertilizer that you take. Unless the chemical fertilizer are used, unless the high yielding varieties are used, we are not feeding 137 crores of population today in India. North Korea is today having begging, I read, they are begging for one morsel of food. And I understand if it is correct, they are selling, one banana is selling about 1,000 rupees value. But in India, we are able to do it because of the green revolution, because of the chemical fertilizers, because of the high yielding variety, particularly those one which are, genetically modified and also, cultured one. But the problem here is just like fertilizer, we are coming back. Because once we have achieved, first of all, always think in a development, quantity is important. Once the quantity is achieved, then quality. That is how, when the quantity is achieved, now we are looking in terms of quality. They are trying to improve the varieties. Yesterday there was a news. What is the news? They have found out most of the rice and wheat that we are eating in India, they lack nutrients. Which means most of the nutrient-laden wheat and paddy, we have already junked because there is no yield, right? So now slowly we have to bring in, we have to do this genetical modification. But the only problem in the GM is high yielding varieties all right. But when the GM, when it goes to the control of a particular company for purchase of fertilizer, pesticide, then you cannot have your own seed. That is where it becomes very dangerous. That is one point the GM is against. Because I'm a farmer, I keep my seeds for myself and my friends, but I cannot keep seeds. I have to depend on a company. So that is the only thing against. Then there should be a mechanism where the individual should be able to make it. Our people are capable of doing it. Our researchers can do it. They can do research in such a way that genetically modified crop can also be used as a seed to be flown back. So the corporate profit motive is taken away. The social motive of the government is put in.
Sir, ma'am, I have one question. If sir permits, I will ask.
Please.
Who's this?
Yes, sir.
Name
Sir,
your-
the question is, can you briefly tell regarding this fourth industrial revolution technologies only we discussed, sir, now?
Yeah.
All of them with lot of clarity you gave us, sir.
Thank you.
But one question is, sir, how these technologies can be used in the local administration? Like what problems specifically, if you can briefly tell, it will be very helpful, sir. Please.
Very good. Very good. Because when you become a district collector, DM, most important thing, you become, in charge of your health, in charge of your death and birth registration. Today, the technology can be leveraged in every area. Birth and death registration. And today, as I said about if you have a 5G, if you are having from the primary health center, the doctor can straight away refer to a secondary system like general health, general hospital in the taluk headquarters or district, then super specialty hospital in the state headquarters, isn't it? So this system can be integrated. For example, if in a municipality, it's a small municipality with about 2 lakh people living, the administrator, maybe a municipal commissioner or a collector, he can collect the data of pregnant women. Those who are having, you can follow them, in a real-time basis. If you open up what you call your storyboard, you will know in which state who lives and whether she has been administered the dosages necessary for her health. Is she been anemic or she been divided what is known as the government benefits that are to be given to them? All those things can be monitored. This is what is a big data. Today it is not difficult to do it at all. Same is the case with your school children. You can monitor the school children. You can monitor the presence of the government servants in their seat. Today, it is, work from home has become norm. But when work from home, you are actually people, instead of working 8 hours, they are working for 10 hours to 12 hours a day. Yesterday, I read a report from the US. In US, they say people work for 11 hours a day because they say it has increased their workload. So now the digitization, it's all, that is why the fourth industrial revolution is nothing but a combination of all, isn't it? So where you are going to integrate your technologies together, your data together, your systems together, your offices together, it is very easy. Today, income tax department has got what is called all the banking transactions are being monitored by a single portal. Whatever you do transaction, it goes into your AS26 form account. So an income tax payer cannot hide his income, and also the tax declared source is being shown in a particular form. So it's very different. Then, faceless auditing being done by what you call assessment is done by income tax department. Like that in a municipal area, as I said, water connection. You can have not only what you call how much water being supplied. It can come to your table. If you have a what you call your computer system, you can monitor in which village, in which street, so much of water is gone, and what is the difficulty they have faced. You can monitor. Today, your CM cell, they are also saying that send your grievances on email. We'll be able to address them. So it's very, very, very easy and difficult. Very easy. See, as a matter of fact, I did some small thing where WhatsApp management. What is WhatsApp management? It's very simple. Whenever I go to a particular place, I see something, I take a photo, I send it to a concerned person for rectification and report by WhatsApp photo. Then it is rectified, it's reported with a WhatsApp photo. Maybe it's a tap connection, maybe it's a wire hanging above, or it may be flooding up a street. It is possible.
Sir, regarding this nuclear technology.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sir, regarding the nuclear technology, sir, there is an issue of why should we rely on energy from nuclear technology, sir? Because
Kindly repeat it.
yes, sir, why should we rely on nuclear technology for energy as other countries are moving away from nuclear technology?
See, every technology has both things, right? Plus and minus. So the nuclear technology is very, very important as long as it's being used for peaceful purposes. It is mainly used for generating energy. And when you are going for renewable energy sources, it becomes very important. At the same time, it is not, without difficulties like a wind energy or a solar energy. It has got its own problem, what we have seen in Fukushima, isn't it? So there are always the dangers where the radioactivity may likely to affect the people who are living in and around that facility. So we are depending more on them because their efficiency is higher. First, in order to, as I said, first to go for a quantity. So the first level, you cannot totally come out from fossil fuel. You totally go for a green energy or what you call a renewable source of energy. It may not be possible overnight. For that, we require this nuclear. And this nuclear is not only today, it has been used for nuclear medicine. But a lot of nuclear, this thing is being utilized for imaging purposes, medicine. As I said, the nuclear science medicine alone brought out the 2DG drug.
Sir, how to make our critical infrastructure secure from the cyber attacks?
Oh, that's very important. Cyber attack is very important. We have in India called an agency called CERT in CERT in. It is what is known as the topmost security agency with regard to cyber attacks are concerned. So what they do is they collect all the infrastructure details, whether it's an airport or a bank, or it is a what you call a harbor, or it may be what you call a power station like our DISCOM, distribution company. All those details, private institutions are also being taken because large private also having quite a lot of data, very important. And what is happening, sometimes ago in October, I remember October 2020, there was a total blackout in Mumbai. Electric trains could not run because of the blackout. They finally found out it was suspected to be an act by PLA, People's Liberation Army of China, by their experts. They have a separate contingent. Like that today, India is also not lagging behind. Many of you should know. We have an agency like NTRS, because that is in the hands of National Security Advisor. So that will become not only defensive, that also become offensive. This is so cyber security is what if you cannot imagine the security every day new security things are coming. Like you have seen in ATM, simple ATM attack, right from simple ATM attack to a military attack. This cyber security is very important. Our data are breached. For example, somebody is sending a Trojan. Trojan is lookalike website or an app. If suppose somebody it is being sent into our central banking system, this called Kuber. If that Kuber is overnight it is stopped, your entire banking industry, banking transactions will come to a grinding halt. What kind of impact it will have on our economy? So we need to prepare for our cyber security. Already the Indian government is doing quite a lot, but what we are doing, one major threat is always hanging above our head. The cyber threat is from our neighbor, particularly from China, because China has grown leaps and bounds, whether we like it or not, either in space or in our technology. They have very well developed, so they will be able to easily eavesdrop and get the details. So cyber security has become very important thing. Maybe tomorrow we will have a separate course for cyber security, and cyber security is one of the top personnel today sought after AI and data science.
So last
Sir,
two questions.
Sir,
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah,
Sir.
please. Yeah, one by one.
Sir,
Sir.
last two questions, sir.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
So I will please. There is a time lag, so I'm not allowing anybody
Okay.
to talk. Sir, two questions, sir. One is the ethical issue of artificial intelligence and other challenges, sir, and unemployment caused by the technology.
Second one.
Unemployment caused by the technology, sir.
Yeah.
And the fourth industrial revolution, as somebody asked.
Yeah, I think fourth industrial revolution I explained. It is an integration of everything. It is inevitable. What we'll have to do is we'll have to look at the darker aspects and try to clear them. And as regards this unemployed being created by employment of higher technology,
So please unmute yourself, sir. Yes.
unmuted. Is it now clear now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when the hyper technologies are coming, you cannot go behind. You cannot hide behind. So what you have to do is you have to face them. And where the government also should go for high public spending, which is Atmanirbhar Bharat, high spending on construction of roads, bridges, everything, where labor intensive or our MSME, which employs nearly about 67% of the unorganized sector, when it is giving a lot of credit and support, and it will be offsetting the technological problems. We cannot allow our people to become ultra poor, because we have to simply go for fourth industrial revolution or higher technological thing. One more thing you wanted?
The unemployment caused by the technology, sir.
Yeah, that I told. First one.
First one, it is
Ethical questions, right? As regards the ethical questions of AI or any high tech, ethical questions, they are very, very, very difficult. Today, tomorrow, when you go to a public place, you will not identify whether he is a real person or a robot. If he is going to be a robotic science, is going to develop like that, it has quite a lot of problems. You cannot simply say it has become totally unethical, because our lives are changing as never before. our work is changing as never before. We cannot now, when there is a globalized world, we cannot come out from that and live as a village. So in that case, what we like to do is we look into those unethical aspects and bring in regulation and try to control them. That's the only way. Otherwise, there are always ethical issues involved in technology.
Thank you, sir. For the students, information is that about the administration using technology, we will have the next session. So, sir has dealt so much into the technologies. So, use of technology with administration tomorrow in this Santosh Babu sir's session, we will have it. Sir, there is a question, sir. What is the purpose of Bitcoin, sir?
The purpose of Bitcoin is, as I said, it doesn't want to come under, they have their own world. People who are using cryptocurrencies are their own world. They are not within any territorial boundaries or regulations of any country. They are not under any monetary system. So they go freely, buy, purchase. Who is having Bitcoin? Nobody will know. That is the system. Some big people are kind of people who moneyed people, they would like to have. They may not have, the small people or poor people in their mind. Such people, they will be utilizing the Bitcoins. So that is the idea of Bitcoin being created. It was originally created under the name of one, Japanese, and we do not know it is really created by a person or by a group of people, and it has been administered very confidentially. There is called data miners are available. They alone do this work, and it's still quite a lot of ifs and buts are available with regard to the cryptocurrency is concerned.
The last message, one more question, sir. Then India can be a developed country, sir.
Yeah, India will be a developed country according to me and according to you, and the last person gets its essential. A roof above his head, a square meal a day, 3 square meal a day, and something to wear on. If these 3 things are provided, where a mind, free mind, because today we are going for what is called happiness index. In Bhutan, they are guarding the people, but not by GDP, by gross happiness index. So in India, it may not be possible today. India, according to me, by 2030 will be a very huge success. So by that time, it will develop. But only thing is, as Amartya said, the Nobel laureate, he said, it is not generation of wealth, but it is the equitable or equitable distribution of wealth. We cannot do equitable distribution. We can certainly ensure that there are no masses who suffer from poverty and from hunger. Our SDGs are very clear, isn't it? You know our SDG target, and we have achieved many of them. But still, last person is there. India should strive because it's a democracy. We should strive for the last man to recover from poverty. So I think India will be a developed one. Now we are in a what you call W-shaped recovery as regards the economic concern. So once the recovery is there, the W will continue to go up. The last W will go upward. So we will be able to definitely become one of the developed countries in terms of military production, in terms of pharmacy, medicine and vaccine, in terms of even microconductors. I didn't talk about it. That's a major issue, semiconductor issue. Then there are various other issues, our agriculture, everything we are going to be self-sufficient. We will be doing it. But only thing is that rich become richer, poor become poorer. That should not be tolerated in any democratic country. All our administration should endeavor to bridge that gap as much as possible, bring it down. So just like in USA, everybody should be able to do it. Even in USA today, I was told that 20,000 people are homeless in New York as on today.
Sir, with the time permits, I think sir can resolve all your doubts in the Telegram group itself, sir. Can you be there as a member in the Telegram group, sir?
Yeah, I can be. I can be.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the session, sir. I request Mr. Bhuminathan, sir, who's PMD.
Before I end up, I would like to thank everybody for the patient hearing. What I have done is only touching here and there, bits and pieces, but it will help you to know from what are the subjects from which a question can be asked by a panel member. That was the idea. I don't think I've done a great job, but in any way, I wish you all the best. If you follow, if you have jotted down certain things, you do it. And Mr. Bhuminathan sir is my brother, he is available. You tell him whatever the doubts required, we will clear them in another session, or I can prepare an answer in 50 minutes. I'll send it to you. In 50 seconds. An answer in 50 seconds. Thank you all. Wish you all the best. Thank you, sir. Bhuminathan sir.
Sir, sir, please, somebody
Yeah,
wants to say something. Yes,
No,
sir.
sir.
Sir, actually, on behalf of the academy, on behalf of the students, I really want to thank you very much, sir, because it's such a meaningful and purposeful and very insightful session, sir. I'm sure definitely our students would have got a lot of inputs, and they are going to be highly benefited when they are going to appear for the personality test.
Thank you, sir.
I hope whatever the information which I am sharing in the vote of thanks, our aspirants will be, this is their word of mouth, sir. I am sharing on behalf of them.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, sir. Whenever we request you, you are always available for the support. That itself is a greatest support, sir. And always, sir, used to call me as my beloved brother. I am really blessed to have such a wonderful brother. Thank you so much, sir, for your association with the Kingmakers IAS Academy. And we will be disturbing you very often, sir, hereafter for mock interview and for some more sessions.
Yeah, you are welcome. You are welcome, sir. So, thank you all
sir.
again. Thank you. Bye-bye. Best wishes.
Friends, sir, we are having a practice that always someone from the students community, they will share their
Oh,
feedback.
right. Yeah.
With that, we will wind up the sessions.
Okay. Right.
So
I
Diya
request
has
someone
certain
from the
doubts,
students
sir.
community.
So Diya has certain doubts, so she can actually ask her doubts and clear and thank also.
Yes, please.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, sir, I have two doubts that is very much fascinating to me. Sir, while mentioning the Bitcoin, you told the term ledger. And sir, I'm not getting that what is the relation of ledger regarding Bitcoin? And the other question is, sir, while discussing about the 5G spectrum, you told that we need more and more data. So I'm not getting here that what kind of data and for whom, sir?
Well, because the time is going out, I don't want to elaborate, but I will explain that legal is now it has been made legal. Bitcoin
No,
is
sir.
legal. Possessing a Bitcoin digitally
Sir.
is not illegal.
Sir,
Yeah, please.
sir, I am not talking about legal because, sir, you already mentioned what is legal and what is legal tender. Sir, I'm
Yeah.
asking about the term ledger that you.
I'm not able to get it.
Yeah, again, you have muted.
Sir, her doubts is ledger, sir. What is that ledger?
Ledger. Ledger.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ledger is nothing but writing down all your transactions. General ledger. Like that, digital ledger technology, DLT, it is called the digital ledger technology as regards the cryptocurrencies are concerned. So every transaction is being recorded in one particular block. Then when it is filled, another block is being made. That is why it is called, it is being seen by peer to peer. Nobody can hack it. That if you know to that extent, I think it will be enough for answering them, because technically nobody will ask you, and you also need not get into technicalities unless you are an expert in that subject. One more thing you asked about, second one.
So 5G data, sir. What
Yeah,
kind of
5G. Why I'm saying that 5G data is not a rare data. What I'm talking, when you are going to use 5G, government wants to know what are the areas in which the 5G can be integrated everywhere, or what is important, because it may be important, what is important for US may not be relevant to us. So it is to bring in an Indian context. They have found out 100 areas, number one. Number two, they want to find out which software to go. That is the data relating to the software, data relating to the hardware, data relating to the company that can be relied upon. That is the trial for this 5G.
Thank you, sir. Great having you, sir. Sir, being a retired bureaucrat, it's not necessary for you to look at all these things and create a lecture on it, sir. You have got our mind going with this, all the information, sir. I think our students will reproduce it in the personality test if at all asked, and will come and shine and really come back to you and tell you our contribution back, sir.
That is my pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
So whatever you need, you can tell Bhuminathan, he will organize. My brother is there, he will organize. And thank you all and wish you all the best again.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I'm ending the session, sir. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you. I'll also leave this lesson. Thank you,
Yes.
Bhuminathan, sir. Good night.
Thank you so much, sir, for it.
Thank you.